Well, hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another eMarketer Tech Talk, where we host guests of all areas of ad tech, martech, and media. I'm Nancy Tefera-Santos, Senior Vice President, eMarketer Insider Intelligence. Today, we have a great presentation. We're going to hear trends from Feedvisor's fourth annual Amazon Consumer Behavior Report, and they're also going to share timely insights from Black Friday and Cyber Monday. This is your opportunity to learn about the predictions that will impact brands and sellers in online marketplaces next year. So please take this opportunity as a time to be educated. Send in questions. We'll get to as many as we can during the Q&A, so please keep them coming. Now I want to introduce a special guest. I'm absolutely honored to have with me today Dani Nadel, who is the President and Chief Operating Officer at Feedvisor. Dani, thank you for joining me.
Hi, Nancy. Thank you for the introduction and for inviting me here today. I am really looking forward to a rich conversation.
We are as well.
Thank you. So before I dive into the agenda, which Nancy just shared, I thought I'd first share with our attendees a little bit about who Feedvisor is. We help brands and retailers to outperform their competition and win in marketplaces, which are pretty complex to navigate and highly competitive. And we do this by helping them to holistically optimize their business with best-in-class AI-driven technology, predictive business intelligence, and deep Amazon and marketplace expertise. And we do this across the key levers that are necessary in a marketplace environment: advertising, pricing, content, inventory. And as a result of our vast proprietary data, we have a unique pulse into what's happening in marketplaces across every category, across search and the competitive landscape for each of our clients. So that's what is really going to drive a lot of what we're going to share today. For the agenda, as Nancy said, we're going to focus first on some of the emerging trends we're seeing in e-commerce, some key insights and tips that I want to share as we're still a few weeks in to 2021, and then predictions for 2022. Now, let's see. Okay. What we're going to look at is basically a lot of the information from our consumer behavior survey. We did a survey, which we do annually. This is our fourth installation, where we actually go out and survey 2,000 consumers. This was released last month. And just to give you an idea, we went across all key demographics. We went across loyalty members and non-loyalty members, across the different programs. And we've also infused, again, our proprietary data and trends we see, research we've done with brands, the advertising and search data that we have, and transactional data and industry dynamics, all pulled together to inform what I'm about to show you. But, and it's a big but, we are just coming off of one of the most eagerly anticipated shopping windows of the year, the Cyber 5. So I thought what we should do first is really hot off the presses talk about what it is we're seeing. There was eager anticipation. Consumers told us they were, really waiting to spend a significant budget over the holiday window. 60% saying that they were looking for deals and discounts during Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and almost 50% of them waiting specifically for Cyber 5 to make their highest value purchases of the year. But what really happened? Well, holiday kicked off early, and it kicked off really, really well, but it sort of ended with a little bit of a fizzle. Consumer spending we saw was down somewhat slightly, 1.4% for the Cyber 5 in general. And ad spend went up, but discounts were down. On average, discounts were reported to be down about 8% year over year. And in-person shopping predictions, interestingly, were pretty off the mark by about half. Instead of 65%, which were anticipated to be in-store shopping during the key moments of Cyber 5, it was 35 to 40%. So there was a very big difference that's been reported. So what I want to do now is show you what we've seen across some of our data, specifically in the marketplaces. The timing's perfect. We are just polishing our Cyber 5 analysis, which we do across our customers, across their US storefronts on Amazon and Walmart. And this is what we saw. Across our clients, Cyber 5 sales were actually up 24% year over year, which we were very excited by, and hopefully a testament to what we can do. Ad spend across our clients increased by 62% compared to last year. Impressions improved by 26%. So you see the difference there. And conversions, though, were up by 38%. So year over year, we're seeing that advertising, yes, you have to invest more because the competition was so fierce, but it's paying off. And what was really interesting to us, again, is as we track the different stages of holiday, which I'm going to get to in a minute, pre-holiday online shopping increased by 25% compared to last year. And what's very notable about that is that last year during this time was Amazon Prime Day. So when you're looking at the increases, you have to factor in that that was a big, big moment that kicked off holiday last year that we didn't have this year. So the fact that pre-holiday shopping increased 25%, just shows that, deals were starting to get socialized in October this year. There was a lot of anticipation of supply chain issues. And every news channel you looked at were encouraging all of us to go out and shop early because we didn't know if the items we wanted would be in stock. So anyway, some tidbits that will be much more enumerated when we actually publish the report next week. One other thing I just want to call out is that when we look at it across categories, across our clients, we really saw that health and beauty, clothing, shoes, jewelry, and watches performed very well. Home, garden, and tools was another very strong category. So we're seeing very consistent trends year over year in that respect. So now I'm going to step back and dive into the trends that we've been seeing, more macro trends for the year. The first one, which is not a surprise, I think, to anyone, but when you see the numbers, it's very powerful. Search isn't just happening on Google. More and more shoppers are turning to Amazon first for product information. And clearly, if they're there, you need to be there or you're not going to get found. So we'll start by talking about the search engines. Interestingly, Amazon has become the #2 search engine in the world. 62% of consumers are starting their search on Amazon. When they're searching for new products, 18% of them are going to Google. And what that increase in search volume and demand and interest means is more opportunities to serve ads. and you can see it in the numbers because, as you look here, Google certainly retains 56%, 57% of search ad spending, but Amazon's now 19% of search ad spending, the #2 search engine. So what are they searching for when they're going to Amazon? What products are they looking for? And what they're looking for online is actually very different than what they're looking for in physical store. Clothing, shoes, and jewelry online, 60% reported that was the top, quote, shelf that they were looking for. Beauty and personal care, 49% of consumers reported that that's what they were searching for. And home and kitchen is the third at 40%. In physical store, it's different. Grocery and gourmet food, 47%. And what's very interesting about this is that's a big shift from last year. Clothing, shoes, and jewelry is second, which is consistent, and then beauty and personal care, third. So that's what they're searching for. And it's interesting because, again, now that they're coming to start their product searches on Amazon, they're actually coming back to Amazon over and over again as they're looking to make their purchase. 75% of the consumers surveyed said that they check prices and product reviews on Amazon before making a purchase. 92% of those consumers said they're more likely to buy products from Amazon than other e-commerce sites. And 56%, this is powerful, of consumers say they visit Amazon daily or at least a few times a week. I count myself in that group, as many of us do. And why? It's because it's become part of our life. It's just become so easy and infused in our day-to-day. Many of us are Prime members. I think there's now a little less than 50% of the US population that are Prime members. Amazon's price points and the array of options, the convenience are all very important factors that have been listed by consumers. All right, so given where we are and given we know that Amazon is the core of what consumers are doing in their day-to-day, what are some of the tips that we can offer given where we are right now? First, it's going to be very important that we continue to think about December, going to January, and into February as continued holiday. And there's a few things you need to anticipate during this period. Storage fees will likely increase starting the year. Inventory is only going to get tighter. And, we'll talk about this in a minute, but what some of our customers call Returnuary, January, when a lot of the products and the Christmas gifts that were purchased are being returned need to be all factored into your plans. But it all starts with inventory, because that's really the cornerstone of the business. So some things we need to make sure that we do as we start, looking at December and January, strike the optimal balance clearly between having not enough inventory to cover the demand, but also being overstocked. You have to be very sensitive to maintaining, positive inventory health. You have to be very clear over these next few weeks on shipping promises so that you avoid an influx of negative reviews for last minute gifts that didn't arrive on time. And clearly you want to make sure that your advertising, your promotion, and your pricing strategies are all working in harmony, because they are so interrelated with your inventory to drive those optimal results. And you need to really track and understand your P&L at the product level across your catalog, minute by minute. Understand what is your per product margin. Have you factored in returns so that you're getting the accurate inventory counts, and you don't have false top sellers that you believe are top sellers that really aren't, because they're all being returned. And ask yourself, what are you willing to spend on customer acquisition, especially as you start entering 2022? So those are just a few things to think about as you begin the year. Trend number 2, it's an interesting one, right? Your brand certainly matters. But what we're seeing is there's less loyalty today with consumers shopping in 2021. Your brand matters, but your ads and your pricing are mattering more to them right now. This cartoon kind of does a nice job of setting the stage that, certainly they're going to look at your brand, but if there's a quality competitor that's there simultaneously that's less expensive, they're going to consider it. So what does all this mean? Well, as I said earlier, if consumers are beginning their journey on Amazon, looking for inspiration, motivation, trying to get ideas on what to get, knowing that they're influenced by quality and price, ratings and reviews, you need to make sure you're showing up and getting yourself in that consideration set from the get-go. Your strategy cannot just be about the lower funnel anymore. Certainly it's critical, but you need to be thinking more holistically about your presence in these marketplaces and how you're going to attract your existing customers so they become repeat buyers, but also prospecting and getting you new to brand customers. So that's a critical point we want to just underscore. And why it matters to be present throughout those funnel stages is because today ads on Amazon sit on prime real estate. And you look at a search page, a third to a half of a search page, depending on your browser, is ads. It's driven by ads. And what's really interesting is that these ads are really working and they're resonating. And that is why 55% of the shoppers we surveyed said they notice ads on a search results page. 49% of these shoppers, age 27 to 40, always or frequently buy the first product that is listed on a search page. And that's a sponsored brand ad. 60% of consumers purchase products from brands they had not previously tried as a result of this. And what we see on the other side is that brands see enormous value in the offerings of ads in the marketplaces because they know they have to pay to play. So ads are permeating and resonating, and that's the message. We all need to be thinking of this deeply and investing accordingly. Over half the consumer journey is now driven by different types of ads. And for those of you that went to Amazon Unboxed or listened to it, you saw the proliferation of all the offerings that are available, in addition to all the sponsored ad types and the display or DSP ad types. You now have, more advanced audio ads, and there's video ads and live streaming, and there's ample opportunity for a brand to be able to tell their story, their product story, from the initial engagement with a prospect all the way through to that conversion moment. And Amazon is also providing much more advanced visibility and access to data for advertisers. There's the AMC, the Amazon Marketing Cloud. We are a beta member of that, where you get access to basically a clean room of data where we're able to have anonymized user journeys, understand the interrelationships between the different ad types, points of diminishing return. There's a lot of really rich data we're able to glean from that. In addition, there's now brand lift surveys that are available through the DSP to understand key brand metrics, and there's new brand metrics coming. So there's a lot of rich information that Amazon is providing visibility for advertisers to use. So what does this all mean for you, where we are today? Well, you have to reach shoppers at every stage of the funnel, as I mentioned, and there's different ad types that play a role in each of those stages. So you have to start to ask yourself certain questions as you're doing your media planning for 2022. Understand where your key consumers are in their journeys. Are they ready to purchase? Are they researching? Are they new to brand? Are they existing customers? What's the action or next step you're hoping they take? Where do you send them? The landing experience is critically important. You have a brand store, you have landing pages you can create. So thinking through that holistic customer experience from the first point of targeting through to that kind of landing experience and conversion event is going to be critical. And there's, in addition to all the ad types, there's different creative formats, targeting capability to help you strategically connect, your browsers and shoppers at every stage. And there's things to consider here too. Do you want to use the dynamic optimized ads that Amazon provides, or do you want to create custom ads that really help tell your brand story maybe differently? Are you going to use audio, video, display? So there's a host of questions to continue to ask as you're setting up your plans for the year. And you have to expect intense conquesting and competition at every stage, because everyone's understanding the importance of this, and guaranteed if you're not there, your competition will be. And then the key is to track and measure at every stage, understand the incremental impact for every dollar you are spending. What is it generating that you would not have gotten organically, so that you can really understand how to make every marketing dollar count. Shifting now to trend 3, and this one, I think we all know, holiday shopping doesn't end just because Cyber 5 just concluded. The month of December is a very important month. And there's a lot of last minute gifting that happens during the month of December. And what we found in our survey, which again has been confirmed year over year, is that Amazon is the leading destination for these late Q4 shopping purchases. In the last eMarketer tech talk that I did a few months ago with Andrew Alterson, we kind of set the stage for a 3-phased approach to holiday. It's how we think about it and plan with our customers. We are now deep in phase 3, the lead out gifting stage. And there's some specific strategies that need to be employed at this part. One, you want to focus your messaging on the last minute holiday gift giving. You want to prioritize efficiency in your advertising campaigns. It's very important. And you want to use this time to liquidate any excess inventory, especially inventory with long-term storage fees. Other things that you want to make sure you're doing for December. You got to keep advertising because you have to be discovered for these last minute shoppers. But maybe it's a little more mid and lower funnel. Make sure you're analyzing your Cyber 5 performance and making adjustments based on what you saw, where there's certain targets that maybe didn't perform quite like you thought, or certain products that weren't converting at the levels you thought. Do you need to relook at a PDP? And then the next thing you need to do is continue to plan for increased traffic and competition, because that's what you're going to see. CPCs are going to increase. So you want to make sure you're selectively increasing your bids to remain competitive. You want to make sure you're allocating ample budget to ensure your campaigns don't run out during these key days, especially in the first few weeks of the month. And you want to isolate maybe your top 10 keywords in their own campaigns to make sure you can control and bid more aggressively or less, depending on your goals. If you want keyword dominance, that's critical. Obviously, maintaining inventory takes precedence, and you want to only promote those products that you have ample inventory on. And you want to make sure you're optimizing your catalog and focusing your investments on those top priority products, the deals of the day, the lightning deals, the best deals. I mean, these are the ones that qualify for Amazon's deal badging. And we know that the deal badging actually makes an enormous difference in the impact of an ad. So that's for December. Now, how do you start the year strong, January 2022? The first thing is make sure you're doing your planning. Analyze your catalog, forecast your budgets and goals, factor in seasonal trends, and come up with your plan for the year and what your benchmarks are going to be. What you want to make sure you're doing as we come out of December is that you're thinking about holiday winding down. So you want to make sure you're readjusting your campaign budgets and bids, since we just increased them. And you want to also make sure you're doing this, unless your products have seasonality in January, clearly. Then you want to keep your foot on the gas. This year is the time to take advantage of video. I'll talk about it a little bit, but video on the Amazon DSP is now easier than it ever could be, and there are more and more options. IMDb, Twitch, there's the owned and operated inventory. You've got a native dynamic creative builder available. We work with this day in, day out. So definitely a year to start experimenting with video if you haven't yet. The brand lift studies I mentioned before, this is the year to try one. You can get one done in the 2 to 4 week window. And it really does provide additional metrics for how your advertising is impacting key brand metrics. The other thing that should be done this year, especially as we are in this cookieless world, is to bring over your 1P data. Bringing over your first party data and being able to leverage that and overlay it with within the marketplace will enable you to have much more hyper targeting, much more ability to create lookalikes of your existing customer base, and enable you to do upsell, cross-sell versus prospecting in a very different way that's much more strategic. And lastly, track, measure, optimize every step of the way, and create a learning agenda as part of your planning for the year and experiment. There's a lot of options, and you have to figure out what resonates most with which consumers at which time. So those are some tips for a strong January. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about some predictions for 2022. The first one, which is maybe fairly obvious, is that the inventory issues we've been experiencing, they're not going to be going away anytime soon. Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell said that Americans should be prepared for, the global supply chain to remain in crisis throughout the end of 2022. So this has certain implications. For marketplace sellers, you have to secure your product, you have to diversify your fulfillment and expand your capabilities because this is the harsh reality, and you have to really plan in advance and factor your budgets accordingly. And again, that's where the combinations of inventory and advertising and pricing all come together, because they have to be thought of holistically, especially in the supply constrained world that we're in. 2, the next prediction, one that I have become all too familiar with during the past year and a half. As one of my teammates was saying the other day, couch commerce. Dani, you're in couch commerce. And yes, I am living it. But it's that ability to make spontaneous purchases that you really don't need while you're just scrolling through your social media feed. And I think we're all becoming victims of it. But, shopping is really becoming an always-on activity. It's what we're doing actively in moments where we're really thinking about it, but passively in moments where we're even not. And, a great example of this is TikTok. It's talk about a social passive shopping experience. Inspiring consumers to make purchases they never would have thought of before. These TikTokers have fueled this, pandemic surge of, shopping for these strange products at times in interesting categories, clothing, cleaning supplies, toys, tech accessories. And mid-year this year, Amazon even created a page for internet famous, the latest to go viral, TikTok made me do it, hashtags abound. So this is becoming a real trend that we are going to see become reality in a much more pervasive way next year. And brands and retailers are going to have to increasingly integrate their ads and their experiences across these platforms as content and commerce are becoming infused. So that's number 2. Number 3, the year of voice shopping and audio video ads. It's this one is I was just talking about it, right? With Alexa enabled ads now available for brands to experiment with the click of a remote control, the ability to buy something while watching your Fire TV. It's, shopping's, it's just becoming so easy. And it's being adapted now to the ways different segments want to purchase. So this is the year to start to really experiment with some of these new channels, hopefully driving incrementality in your audiences, and experimenting with different ways to tell your brand story in different medium. Next, in a post-cookie world, marketplaces keep on growing and retail networks follow suit. What's very, very interesting is, again, the marketplaces and the retail networks, they have the first party data. And so going to these networks will enable brands to still target in a way that has been very, very effective. But what's really interesting is these retail networks are popping up left, right, and center. There are new ones coming in every day. We've got Walmart and Target and Ulta and Wayfair and CVS and yeah, there's like so many of them now. We think this is just going to continue to permeate next year because of the opportunity and the deep media budgets that are associated with this space. And so we see more and more experimentation. This is a little bit of a challenging one because there's this very complicated triangle that happens in retail networks with the brand, the retail media arm, and the buyer. And how do all these three work together? It's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds, but we will actively wait and experiment and learn as the markets continue to grow. And lastly, virtual worlds and crypto payment. This is one that I'm personally very interested in. Facebook's recent rebrand to Meta shows the allure of the metaverse. Virtual online worlds pioneered in the games like Fortnite, Roblox, are becoming mainstream. And for those of you that are crypto followers, you might have read about the $2.4 million deal that was done in Decentraland, which is one of the cryptocurrencies, Meta. Mana, excuse me, not Meta, Mana. And what we're seeing now is this focus on how to use virtual worlds and crypto payment by customers to create the area of virtual malls. If you think about it, we're expecting these new malls and marketplaces to emerge in this virtual sphere, and consumers buying goods with crypto directly, disintermediating all the other players in the space. So it's one to really watch out for, but 2022 is going to be the year we see this really hit a tipping point, in my opinion. So those are some of the predictions for 2022. Now, for those of you that are interested, our 2021 Consumer Behavior Report, it's available, I believe, in the tab, Nancy, I think.
Correct.
Yeah, that you can download right now, or you can go to our website, feedvisor.com, and download it as well. But there's a lot of really rich information. I covered like the tip of the iceberg with it. And the other thing I will offer is for anyone on listening in, we are happy to do a consult and offer you a free trial of Feedvisor. We are doing this for eMarketer attendees and would love to help you understand how you're doing today in the marketplaces, where you could be optimizing, and show you the power of what we can do for you. So for anyone interested, here's my information. Please feel free to reach out to me, Dani.Nadel@feedvisor.com. And with that, Nancy, I guess I will hand it back to you for questions.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Dani. This was fantastic information. Really enjoyed it. I loved your coining, return your wary. I am so guilty of that. I'm the worst to buy gifts for, but really loved all the information that you had. One of the things that I really took away from this is be present throughout the full customer journey. That was one of the main messages that I picked up, but really great information. And the fact that you were able to crunch those Black Friday and Cyber Monday data so quickly and share it with our audience, I can't thank you enough. That was fabulous. So we have a couple of really good questions here, and let me jump on into them for you. Sarah in Newark wants to know, what are the main factors that are driving the consumers to Amazon?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I touched on a few of them in the course of this conversation, but again, there's over 150 million US Prime members today. And that is one of the most connected loyalty programs that there is. And it's because of the price and the convenience that we heard earlier in the survey that consumers are looking for, the ability to get that, immediate shopping experience, the ability to have a one-click experience. All your information is stored and is hyper responsive to you. But that lower price and convenience is probably the most critical of those items.
Yeah, great point. Thank you. And Jeff in Seattle wants to know, how can companies really succeed in e-marketplaces?
That's a more complicated question. E-marketplaces are a critical route to market for brands and sellers, but they're incredibly complex and saturated and highly dynamic consumer demand, competition, market trends. They're shifting moment to moment in very independent ways. So we really believe to effectively compete requires an agile, integrated strategy. And it needs to be supported by a unique set of tools and data and optimization capabilities, so that you can rapidly respond to all these fluctuations. It's impossible to do this manually anymore. And you really need big data and machine learning to help you get smarter and smarter in how you're going to continually respond in as close to real time as possible.
Continually analyze, continually respond, continually pivot.
Yeah, and continually optimize your advertising, your pricing, your inventory, all in a very connected way.
Yeah, absolutely. And Randall in Fort Worth wants to know, you covered a lot of trends, but what are the most significant trends that you think retailers and brands and sellers should keep in mind?
Yeah, I think it's what you said earlier, actually, Nancy. I think it's the fact that you have to expand your strategy and be present throughout the funnel, or you're going to get lost. I think that is so crucial. As I said earlier, 100% of the brands we spoke with, that was over 1,000 brands this year,
wow,
said that advertising works in these marketplaces. They know it. Shoppers are seeing these ads and connecting with the brands that are advertising them. And these are brands they have not heard of before. So I think it's the fact that you need a full funnel strategy to engage both your customers and your prospects from the moment at which they are coming to seek information or seek inspiration, all the way through to the point at which they're ready to convert. Make sure you have a strategy that aligns with each stage in the optimal way.
Okay. And Ross in Queens wants to know, is the only way to compete in online advertising to spend the most money? Good question, Ross.
That's a great question. Well, of course, money helps always, but certainly you don't know. The honest answer is there are many ways to help create a more impactful use of whatever budget you have. The first thing is you have to ask yourself some of the questions I mentioned earlier. Who am I targeting? What are my objectives? And what are the most important keywords and search terms that I show up in for each of my products to make that connection? And you have to be really hyper-focused here on the targets and the search terms that you need to be present with. And then you need to bid in the most efficient and effective way you can for those terms. You need to strategically leverage your product targets, competitive conquesting strategies. You can be very stealth and smart in the way you go to market with minimal budget. Just be scientific and strategic in your approach.
Yeah. And I think you kind of answered. We have another question. Kate in Arizona wanted to know about those product searches, and if people are using Amazon so much, like how can you also optimize top of funnel searches?
Well, top of funnel, it's funny. I mean, top of funnel to me is it's search, but it's also display. It's the fusing of the two as they're coming together in these marketplaces. And it is very similar to what we were talking about just now. It's first and foremost understanding, who are you targeting? What are those specific audiences? Where do they live? What are their interests? What are their lifestyles? Where do they live? All the questions you need to answer to identify your bullseye target, and then create the audiences, which the DSPs give you ample opportunity to do, as does the sponsored product platform, to make sure you're targeting those customers. We create a lot of custom audiences by leveraging prospecting and lifestyle information, and creating a vast array of audiences to test and experiment with, uploading your first party data, to make sure that you're targeting in the most effective way prospects and your customers. So optimization top of funnel starts to me with the basics of marketing, which is understanding who you're targeting and making sure your segmentation's in place. And then it's making sure at every stage that you have the right messaging, the right offer, the right product imagery, and the right product, connecting with those customers throughout their stages and making sure you're relevant at each stage. And then test and learn, and continually optimize every dollar you're spending to make sure you are refining your targeting strategy and your marketing strategy.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Dani. This was wonderful. Really appreciated it. Again, sharing the information from the Cyber Five was just amazing. And I know our audience enjoyed it. And just want to say to everyone, again, keep an eye on your email. We're going to be sending out a link to the recording from today, and pay attention to it. Share it around your organization because this information was incredible. Dani, you gave tips for what people could do in December, as well as how to plan for 2022. Amazing. Thank you.
Thank you,
Before
Nancy.
Thank you. Before we wrap up, let me take a moment and tell everybody what's happening across eMarketer's media channels. You can register for upcoming live tech talk and analyst webinars at emarketer.com/webinars. On the audio side, we have Behind the Numbers. That's our daily podcast. And please take a listen to the podcast and check out our newsletters as well. Like I said, keep an eye on your email, and also don't forget to download the survey. It's in the interface here. And thank you all for your time. Thank you again, Dani, and everyone at Feedvisor. We really appreciated having you here.